Josh, and thank you everybody who's here. First of all, I'm incredibly proud and humbled to be the head coach of Louisville Volleyball. I've been here for a long time, and this place means the world to me. So what Josh talked about, it's like when this community got its hooks into us, it's like there was no way we would leave it. I mean, we were just in. So again, thank you so much. Like Josh talked on, one of the first people I thought of too was Danny. We got here 8 years ago. And a lot of these banners weren't up, but a lot of them were. So we had a lot to build off of. But the time that I worked with Danny was some of the best coaching moments of my life, and forever grateful to her for what she set us up for in the future. Josh, Amy, President Schatzel, I appreciate you guys. I've been on the road recruiting since this has happened. It's only been a few days, but Cece and I in particular have spent quite a few hours on the road. And so many coaches have come up to me and talked about just how impressive the transition was. And it's kind of a first for volleyball, the way that it was handled. It was top notch, it was so impressive. So I'm excited to continue our relationship and then also learn from your guys' leadership, because what a first step that we've taken. So happy for that. Before I get too far though, Laurel, who's sitting up here, and it's gonna be hard to leave without breaking down here, but you've meant the world to me. You're the reason that we're here. I could go into the whole story of when we got offered this job, but as an assistant coach 8 years ago, and my initial response was no. And I didn't want to move. I liked where we were at, and it was Laurel who saw what this community could do for our family and wanted to raise our family there. We had one son at the time. The one sitting right next to Laurel was in her belly 8 months pregnant, and she was that sure about what Louisville would do for our family to come here and raise a family. So she makes me such a better person, such a better coach. Marrying you is the best thing I ever did in my life. I'm going to get to you. So for my three boys who are up here decked out in their Adidas gear, you guys are awesome. If marrying your mom was the best thing I ever did, the funnest thing I ever get to do is watch you guys grow up. Maddox, Ryan, Hendricks, like I said, we only had one when we got here. We've got two native Louisvillians who were born here, and you guys are awesome. I'm so glad that we get to watch you guys grow up around this program. So thank you guys. Thank you, to the staff, and I'm actually going to the front row. Todd Chamberlain, who's sitting up front, he's the best recruiting coordinator in the country. Those of you that know our program, this is a pretty tight-knit group here. I've seen all you guys at our games and stuff. You guys know he's the personality of our program. And those of you that are tight know what I mean by that. But when I think of Todd, taking this job, when Todd was on board, it was like the first exhale of like, okay, we got this. I'm so impressed with Todd as a coach. He got here 7 years ago, 1 year after Danny and I got here. And he did not have any recruiting experience per se. He wasn't known as a recruiter. He took on that job, and he went from new recruiter to, again, in my opinion, the best recruiter in the country. And it's just such an example of what this program's about, where everybody from the coaches to the players is driving to get better, and it sets such a great tone. So Todd, shortly after him, his wife Lauren, two kids on the way. Two kids came, James and Lewis. And again, there's such a family environment around Louisville volleyball. We've got pretty much just boys that are growing up, but it's cool to see the families grow, and so thankful that you're on board, Todd. Cece McGraw, who I don't know where she dipped out to. She's there. She is. Which I said, Cece and I just spent pretty much 48 hours on the road, 5 cities in one day at one point. That was pretty cool. But she's one of the best young coaches in the country. Those of you that saw some matches last year saw that she's getting more and more involved in our defense, and Todd and I joke, but we're pretty serious of making sure that we're super nice to Cece, because we know we're probably going to work for her someday. They took a chance on us too. Zach, her fiance, and her came down from Minneapolis chasing the warm weather in Louisville, which I promise we have. And we're just so thankful for you guys. And then to what I think, if Todd's the personality of the staff, the heartbeat of the program, and she's short, I can't find her, there she is. Sarah Pekovic, who everybody knows. When I came here 7 years ago to interview for the assistant job, she picked me up at the airport in like this big long sweater. I remember that. It probably wasn't that long, as long on you. But her warmth came through so fast, and it was like, she is the best billboard for volleyball, for Louisville volleyball that I could ever think of. Like, you meet Sarah and you know what we're about. So again, so thankful for you, her husband Sash. And then at Louisville, we want to do everything the best in the world. And so if you watch a match and somebody hits the ground and somebody's got to wipe up the sweat, we have the best floor wipers in the entire world, and that's typically Sarah's kiddos, Hyla, Beckett, and Alexana. So they've developed like a cult following of how great they are wiping up the floors, and they motivate me. To our alumni, like I talked about, every day I come in here, I look at these banners, and I'm proud of them. They drive me. But there were a heck of a lot of banners up here 7 years ago when I showed up. And to be able to have that success, that foundation to recruit to was invaluable. So thank you to the alumni that came before that's come since. You guys are awesome, you're a part of this, and we love having you guys around the program. To our players, we've had 3 great practices. It feels like it's been a whirlwind, it's been wild, but man, you guys motivate me too. You guys are just such a great example. I love, again, the families that we have around this program, the role models that these kids get to see. You guys are awesome, and we're here for you. All we think about is you, and like we talked transition, it was so cool how you guys just embraced everything that was going on, and I'm forever indebted to how that went. You guys are awesome. So to our players that are here, thank you guys. And I see Hannah Sherman always doing this here. I kind of need to do it right now. So as far as my vision goes, this is a unique introductory press conference because I could spend the rest of this going through almost person by person and naming everyone who's here and what you've done for the program, because you all matter. We're all here because of everybody. So everybody who's here, thank you. My vision moving forward is, we've done some really good things here at Louisville. There's a joy and a love around our program and for each other, and that's not changing. That's one of the most important things to me, is that remains with the program. And my North Star, the thing that I chase is, whoever comes into this program, a manager, a player, a coach, when they get to this program, when they finish, they have more love for the game of volleyball than when they started. And I've seen that happen time and time again. And when you're focused on that, everything else seems to come into place. I take so much pride in our players leaving and loving the game as much as they've ever loved it in their life. And that's the number one thing that motivates me to be a great coach for our student athletes. So with that, I know we're going to open up for questions. So I appreciate everybody who came here today. And first question, please give me a layup because I haven't done this yet, but go Cards.
We ask that you wait for the microphone so we can, since we're broadcasting this.
Dan, Josh mentioned the 99.1% or
99.9.
What did you think about that 0.1% when he said that and when he went on his run? Kind of your thoughts?
That's the only part of that conversation I remember was 99.9, and then trying to explain that to my wife. Hey, 99.9%, I'm getting this job, so get 99.9% happy about it. But like I said, I don't remember much of the rest of the conversation because I had always, I told the team, and when we broke the news, that was a pretty intimate conversation, and without sharing too much of that, I remember telling the team that one of the things that kept me here for so long is that I thought there was a small possibility that this could happen. I mean, Danny, I've said it recruiting, I said she's the best head coach in the country. She's got more competition now, but as I always said, she's the best head coach in the country. It's a no-brainer if the top, a great job opens up, that everybody would go after her. And I thought if that ever were to happen, as small as I thought the chance was, I wanted to be here if there was an opportunity for me to serve. So when he said 99.9%, I was already thinking, if this is me, what am I going to be doing? I already started making calls and acting as if it was already going to happen. So I'm glad that 0.1% didn't come through, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But again, it was a moment I will never forget, for sure.
John Cook signed a 5-year extension in May. What was your reaction to that? Did you think that this job was not likely to come open for a long time?
I didn't know that. I didn't know I don't really follow other coaches' contracts or anything like that, especially as an assistant coach. My time here as an assistant was so engulfed in what we do with our student athletes. I probably was watching film of like one of our ACC opponents. It was just tunnel vision of how to make our team better. So again, I honest to God did not know that he was on a 5-year contract or 4 years maybe remaining when that happened. But I had been there. My first job was as assistant coach at Nebraska, and I would say that I was very surprised that he retired. He reminded me of somebody that I did see his press conference when he talked about, I think he said burning out as opposed to fading away. And I really think he thought he did that. I mean, I thought he would just keep going and going. So, but again, for somebody that was my first job, I think he set a great example with that of just how hard he worked, how much he gave, and that's definitely something that I took away from that. So, yeah, thank you.
Having been here, to be able to see Louisville go from a really good program into the elite program, how much joy did you get and how much drive behind it was seeing the growth from the community as well, getting these larger crowds and more involvement from the community for this program?
It was awesome. I mean, I clearly knew about the great club scene before I got here. We had been recruiting this area for a really long time, so I knew volleyball was really strong in Louisville. And when we got here, there were some changes where we went from more Young Center games to more L&N. I think that was one of the biggest things was, we only sold out one match in L&N Arena, this arena our first year. But we celebrated that like a national championship. We sold this match out, and the next year it was about 4. And the next year after that, we were talking about going to the Young. How many people can we get? So the community, we knew that it was ready to kind of pop for volleyball, and it was already so strong. So I think that it was just kind of, the stars really aligned with that. But again, we took it in steps where it was a huge deal to sell out this arena in 2017. And I'm so proud that we did that. And then the next year, and we were building off of that. And the winning percentage in this building in particular, since we've been here the last 7 years, Nancy could probably correct me on it, is pretty astronomical. This place is really, really special. So as much as it's great to get to the Yum Center because we want to give everybody an opportunity to experience Louisville volleyball, I don't think we're ever truly leaving this place right here in the immediate future. It's just, there's something special about being an L&N. So, thank you.
Over your time here as an associate head coach, can you talk about how your role kind of evolved over the course of that time, and then how it prepared you particularly for this moment, this new responsibility?
That's a great question, and one I really hadn't thought about to this point. With the title associate head coach, I didn't know when I took this job, but I had to go to some head coaches meetings. So Danny would be like, "We're going," and I didn't have an assistant coach. So I did get to experience some head coaches meetings, which was cool, and that was one thing that I don't think Danny and I truly talked a lot about, but she was so transparent of what was going on as a head coach that I felt really comfortable when this happened of the roles that were going to shift and what I was going to have to take on. So again, I mentioned her at the beginning, but the way that Danny put the staff together and how much she empowered me was a big reason I felt really confident when this happened that we could get through this transition the way that we did. So thank you.
You talked about the banners and looking, and Josh talked about asking you the question, what your vision and how you can continue to elevate even more. What is that? What's next? What can you do with this program?
Well, we got Kentucky at home this year. We always alternate that. So I think, the Yum Center is prime. We're going to play them there, I believe. I don't want to get ahead of my skis here. There you go. But the attendance records for matches like that, I think, are always something that you're chasing. And it's a really fun thing throughout volleyball right now of everybody breaking attendance records. That's happening throughout the country. So that's a cool match that we know will be at the Yum Center that we can, really build for how many have we had for a regular season game in the Yum Center. And as far as the vision moving forward, we have such a core group that returns from the national championship match. They were one match away from winning it all. And then we've added some phenomenal pieces. So, this team is kind of used to, their day-to-day experience hasn't changed all that much. There's one relationship that changed quite a bit, but aside from that, these players have experienced it, they know what it takes, and so we're going to keep moving on that path. Thank you.
You mentioned you were on the road recruiting quite a bit, a couple days in a row without any stops. What has been the reception, the reaction from the recruiting world to the coaching change here?
Yeah, and so for everybody that I've touched base with, thank you for everybody that reached out. The reaction was, again, I think the biggest thing, because it was so unique, was the transition. And to take 2 Final Four teams and both have head coaches changeover, and for it to go as seamless as it did, and for our program to not skip a beat, people are like in awe of that. It's kind of like the volleyball moment of like, where were you when that happened? So it was really cool to see everybody come up and just, again, credit to Josh and Amy of just how great that transition went. Because when you put the student athletes first and our experience with our players, that's what makes moments like that happen. So, again, it's been more about how impressive the transition has been than anything other than that. So, thanks.
At least one All-American has transferred this offseason. Do you expect to be able to keep your team intact?
Heck yeah. I didn't know that fact. At least I'm trying to follow that. But yeah, I mean, when that, again, my North Star is that you love the game more when you leave than when you got here. And again, as long as we're all staying true to that, those things tend to take care of themselves. When you're worried about those types of things, it clouds your judgment and how you interact with people, how things go down. So again, like John's contract, I don't spend much time thinking so much about that. I spend time thinking about how much we're growing our love for the game. They put, our whiteboard is over there. I thought the whiteboard would still be out, but spending time making sure that what's on that whiteboard is going to be a fun experience for everybody involved and move the needle towards us being a great program. So, thank you.
Dan, in match, you're really involved and have been in your associate head coach role in terms of, strategy in the game, movements, that sort of thing. Will that change at all as a head coach?
I've thought a lot about that. I'm certainly going to shift from more defense to offense. And volleyball, and I think this is what attracts so many people to this sport. Volleyball is such a unique game in the fact that the best passing team is usually the best serving team because we have skills that are reciprocal, right? The best blocking team is a lot of times the best attacking team because you see it every day in your gym. So for me, who was doing defense for 8 years, I did, I'm not used to having the bird up there, I don't really usually wear these suits, sorry. For me, who's used to doing defense, 8 years I've been watching other teams' offenses, and I've found things that are just an absolute nightmare to prep for. And so I'm really comfortable shifting to that side of the ball. And when you look at in match, you're in control of your offense. You set it up, you're ready for it, you prepare what the serve's going to do, but your offense is in complete control. You have when you walk out there. The defense that you run really isn't. Now you can get into base positions, but the offense is going to do what the offense is going to do against you. So you have to prepare for what they might do, but you're constantly adjusting to the other team because you can't control what they're going to do. So a lot of times with our in-match kind of responsibilities, that's why I would maybe be a little bit more active, is because there's more to change and adjust to. From the offensive side, if we're doing our job Monday through Friday, what we're doing on Saturday night, we should be in pretty good control of. But I do not like sitting during games, so I don't know if I'll be sitting down, but I do think that those roles are going to shift slightly, and it's exciting. I mean, to me, that's what's so fun about coaching is there's always a new challenge. So, great question. Thank you.
Two-part. As of right now, what is your now? What are you looking for right now? I assume you have to hire another assistant. Is the roster set? And then the second part, any talks about Nebraska scheduling maybe right now?
Haven't thought about that one. I think that would be a cool opportunity if we do it right. But as far as staffing, we've had some initial conversations with coaches and have some really good, we've got a good foundation set of getting somebody in very, very soon. And then as far as our roster goes, again, the guiding North Star for us of giving a great day-to-day experience has remained the same. So it's funny, we did a team meeting when we announced this, and then we wanted to touch with everybody individually, and we had multiple small groups come in because they came in as a group, as a team, with their teammates. And I thought that was really telling of kind of the culture of our team, that it didn't have to be 16 people one-on-one. There were 3 or 4 that were like, hey, let's just pop in together, we'll touch base, we're good. So yeah, from that standpoint, the day-to-day experience for Louisville volleyball has not changed a whole lot at this point. So thanks for your question.
Anything for Josh?
Yeah, what was the 0.1%?
Good run.
I've got one for Josh. When you did Danny's last contract, there was a clause in there that enabled her to go to Nebraska without a buyout. Did you anticipate that this was inevitable?
No, I never thought it was inevitable. It was just putting that clause in there to me was more a matter of doing the right thing than anything else. You talk about student athletes, and you want them to be happy. You want your head coaches to be happy as well. And that was something that was just really important to Danny. But I never thought she's absolutely going to go because she truly loved her time here. Truly loved her time here. She said to me, and she might have just been, BSing me a little bit, but she said, Josh, I never thought I would be in a position where I actually had to think about taking the job at Nebraska, and that happened with me leaving here. And so, to me, that's all I needed to hear. I think this community, this team, anybody associated with this program did everything we absolutely could do to say, hey, this is your home, and her and Lane did the same thing. I mean, they were where their feet were for 8 years here in Louisville, and so no, I didn't think it was inevitable.
Josh, nowadays, how crazy or wild is it that the way it happened with nobody knowing, and the fact that you just went through a basketball change where there was only maybe one or two of the same people around for the next year. Now here you're going to have almost everybody the same. How crazy in these days is that strange or what?
First of all, how awesome is it that almost everybody's still here, right? That you don't want turmoil in any organization, but especially in an athletic department. I mean, you want stability and continuity. So to be able to have the staff and Dan step up into a head coaching role, I hope that feels really good for our team to be like, oh, we're good here. And then, you know, as far as the way the process and transition happened, you know, I think once again, Dan hit on a little bit in his remarks. You know, if you put student athletes first, you tend to come up with the right decisions. And obviously, I think that's what Nebraska did. I know that's what John and Danny and Troy did. I know it's what me and Amy and just go right on down the list of everybody that knew here. That's what we did, and it was a really good outcome.
Anything else? Okay.
All right, thanks all. Go Cards.